them. And we are joined now by Tom Vilsack, the Secretary of Agriculture. Welcome to Reality Check. How are you today?
Well, I'm where I'm supposed to be on time, so that's always a good thing.
Well, I know your time is limited, so I've got to first of all ask you about some of the things that you have been doing lately when it comes to the USDA. You have some initiatives around EBT and also around the other things that you were working on that you can tell us about.
Well, we launched a focus on nutrition security about a year or so ago. There's a lot of discussion about food insecurity, and certainly that's an important issue, but people can be fed, but not necessarily fed well. So we want to make sure that people are fed and fed well. And we want to focus on our young people. And that's why this administration has been focused on expanding access to our Women and Infant Children program, which basically helps nearly 6 million pregnant women, young children, babies have access to nutritious offerings. Right now, we're encouraging our Congress to adequately and fully fund that effort. We're excited about the opportunity to improve our school meals and making sure that there's more fruits and vegetables for young people. And at the same time, linking those schools to locally produced foods so that it's fresh and nourishing. We recognize that there are times when youngsters leave school, and the question then is, where do the meals come from? So we're excited about the opportunity now to launch a permanent electronic benefit transfer EBT program for summer meals. Now, the way this will work for young people who are free and reduced lunch at school, their parents will receive a card similar to a Visa card. It will basically provide for $40 per child per month for the 3 summer months, June, July, and August. So $120 of additional support and help per child for the families so that they can better afford proper nourishment for the youngsters. We have 37 states that have signed on to participate in this program. We still are working on the 13 states that, for whatever reason, have decided not to do this. We're excited about the opportunity it's going to provide. We know that when we nourish our children properly, they end up doing better in school. They end up with better health outcomes. And at the end of the day, we're all better off. And we're also obviously making sure that we are continuing to focus on working with governors across the country to make sure the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is administered properly so those who are in need of assistance and help get it.
Now, for the summer EBT program, is that something that people have to reapply for, or is this part of the benefits package that they already receive?
Well, it kind of depends. If youngsters are already established by their school as free and reduced lunch, then it's pretty much automatic. Or if they're in Medicaid, if their family's receiving Medicaid, fairly automatic. But there may be circumstances and situations where some may have to apply for this assistance. I would also say that this is in addition to, and I want to make sure I make this point, this is in addition to the summer feeding program that we already have in place, which is a congregate feeding program where young people can go to a particular location and receive a meal during the summer. In rural areas, we're now actually working with non-congregate circumstances where folks can drive by and basically pick up a meal. So in addition to the regular summer feeding program, we have the CBT program. So more assistance and more help for families.
Now, I understand that during the pandemic, there was additional funding for some of the programs for WIC, for EBT, and that now there may be some challenges to those appropriations. Can you expand on that?
Well, the WIC program actually had a bonus portion of it that basically made it easier to purchase more fruits and vegetables. And so when Congress makes the decision about budgets, if and when they make that decision, our hope is that they adequately and fully fund the WIC program. If they underfund it, it will be the first time in 25 years that there wasn't bipartisan support for this important program. And if they do underfund it, then it does put into jeopardy some of those additional bonuses that were part of the pandemic response. We know, again, when people have access to fruits and vegetables, they'll consume those fruits and vegetables, and at the end of the day, they become better consumers of food. And we also know that sometimes it's hard for families to basically be able to afford those fruits and vegetables. And so this is a bonus program. This is an added additional assistance for families with young children.
And we're here broadcasting live at the White House today, and I'm told that if there is a budget impasse, that it may directly affect the Department of Agriculture.
Well, absolutely, it will shut the place down. And this is what people don't realize about all of this business. First of all, Congress hasn't passed a budget on time since 1995. Just to kind of reflect on where you were in 1995. That was a long time ago, right? And it creates real difficulties because as a department, we have to actually prepare now for the potential of a shutdown, which means we have to direct people's attention away from making sure the EBT program is administered properly, making sure the SNAP program is available to people, making sure that we're doing what we need to do to ensure our summer meals, our school meals program is on track. That takes people's time away from critically important policies and critically important programs for people to be able to determine how we would respond to a shutdown. We would have to essentially establish, in essence, two types of employees, those who have to remain on the job and those who can't work. And when we say can't work, we mean they can't take their iPhone, they can't take their iPad, they can't make a phone call, they can't work. It's literally against the law. And so it just creates a tremendous backlog of important work that needs to be done. And there's a reason we have government. Government's designed to help folks. And when you stop government, any portion of it, you obviously jeopardize that help.
Well, that is got to be frustrating for you as someone who is administering this agency that does so many things. One of the things that you were doing is opening urban service centers. Philadelphia, I believe, is one of the cities that is going to be a beneficiary of that.
Right. I can refer to it as Philly because I'm originally from Pittsburgh. So yeah, Philly is one of them. Somehow I didn't get one for my hometown, and I'm catching heck for that. No, this is one of 17 urban centers. We want people to understand that agriculture isn't limited to a rural area, that in fact there's quite a bit of agriculture that's taking place in urban centers like Philadelphia. It may be a community garden. It may be a school garden. It may be a building that's been transitioned into an indoor garden, indoor agricultural field. It may be even a container, a trailer that's converted into a place where leafy greens are being grown. So we want people to be able to access the same level of programs, the farmer loan programs, the conservation programs, as their rural counterparts get, because we think it's important for us to send the message that agriculture can take place, it can take place on top of a roof, and often does. And we're excited about these 17 centers. We'd like to be able to expand them beyond that, but that, of course, would require a budget, and it would require Congress basically providing the resources to do that.
Well, if that does happen, how can people access the services, particularly in Philadelphia, since we are a radio station that is based there? So we're really talking about people who are growing gardens, whether it's in their backyard or on their rooftop or in their front yard, that they can take advantage of some of the funding that the USDA has.
Well, let me just give you an example. One of the things that they may be interested in is a microloan. This is a loan for somebody who hasn't had a lot of experience farming but wants to get started. A loan of up to $50,000, payable over 7 years, very low interest rate, can be used pretty flexibly. And what it does is when you have that kind of loan, you then get the experience that allows you eventually to go in and get a larger operating or ownership loan that is available, but requires a bit more experience. Now, in order for folks to access those programs, they have to know about them and they have to be able to apply for them. Two ways to do that. One, online. There is a starter kit. There's a loan assistance tool on our USDA.gov website, USDA.gov. And there's also an FSA office, a Farm Service Agency office located in Philadelphia that folks can go into and actually talk to somebody about the programs and say, I'm thinking about this kind of specialty crop I want to grow, or I'm thinking about doing this in my backyard. What's available? Where could I potentially market this? There may be an opportunity to link it with a farmer's market, or it may even be an opportunity to link it to a local school in terms of local purchasing. So a lot of opportunities there, either at the FSA office or online.
And this program is up and running now.
Yes, it is.
Now, I don't have enough time to go into the historical inequities as it relates to Black farmers and the loss of land, but I do know that there are programs. We broadcast live at the Black Farmers Conference at Delaware State University last year, and so we got some sense of what the issues are. But what is the USA doing to encourage more folks to be farmers?
Well, we just launched the Equity Commission report that contained 66 recommendations in terms of how we might be able to improve our efforts. We also have equity plans within each mission area, including the mission area that services farmers, in terms of how we can improve. Let me briefly try to summarize. Sure. Number one, we understand there's not a trusting relationship. We got to build that trusting relationship. And so what we have done is we've contracted with organizations and entities, the National Black Farmers Council, for example, Farmers Council, which basically we provide resources and then we say, help us with outreach. Then once we get folks in, we've simplified the loan application process. And I mentioned the online tool. We've simplified that process. Sometimes there's issues with title. Maybe the title wasn't handed down precisely the way it needed to be, or maybe there are fractional interests that are owned. We're helping with heirs property issues. We've created a resource to be able to consolidate land ownership and title so that people can access all of our programs. We've also extended cooperative agreements on our conservation programs. Over 100 organizations are now being contracted with NRCS to get information out. We're working in loan servicing for Black farmers who are already doing business with the USDA where they might be having a little difficulty. We're providing some extension of payments and some forgiveness, loan forgiveness. And of course, we have the financial assistance program that was announced under the Inflation Reduction Act. We've received nearly 60,000 applications for financial assistance for those who were discriminated against prior to 2021. And we expect those resources to be made available sometime this summer.
Well, I spoke to a farmer in Delaware when I was at that conference who had been farming for generations, but didn't necessarily think that because his sons were now in their 50s that he was going to be able to continue that into the next generation. How would you, in your position, encourage young people who might be interested in returning to our agricultural past and paving the way to become Black farmers? What is something that your office is doing that they can look to if that's something that they're interested in doing?
Well, first and foremost, I mentioned the microloan program. That's a good way to get started and to establish enough experience that you then can provide an opportunity for a larger operating and ownership loan, which is hundreds of thousands of potential dollars available. Secondly, pay attention to what we're doing in terms of land and market access. We recently provided grants to 50 different organizations to give us information about what are the best practices now in terms of making access to land available so that folks who are getting started have an opportunity. There's a beginning farmer and rancher development program. There's a lot of information on our website that can allow folks to better understand how to get started and where to look for help and assistance. There's also a very significant initiative on the organic side. They may want to start on the higher value proposition. We have a mentoring program where we can link individuals who want to become an organic farmer with an existing organic farmer so that they don't make the same mistakes twice, if you will. There's also assistance and help, financial assistance to make that transition. So there's a lot of activity going on. Would encourage them to look at our website, look at the organizations that are contracting with USDA to provide information and outreach, and or going into the FSA office and sitting down with folks at the FSA office and saying, I'm interested in farming. What can I do? How can you help me? The last thing I would say is that whether it's a land grant university, historic Black colleges, universities, we are contracting with them as well in terms of extension and providing services. And that's also a potential source of information about how do you get started, where do you start.
Wonderful. Secretary Tom Vilsack, the Secretary of Agriculture, thank you so much for the time that you have given us today on Reality Check. We truly appreciate it.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity.